Now, since 1991, with the inception by the Organization of African Union, later known as the AU, June 16 is celebrated internationally as the Day of the African Child to also commemorate those killed during the Soweto Uprising in South Africa. Now, the day is also an opportunity to raise awareness for the ongoing need to improve education of children living across the continent. And to do just that, we're now joined by the African Tourism Board Ambassador in Nigeria, Abigail Olagbaye. Thanks so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program, or as we say in your country, howdy body.
Thank you so much.
Great,
You
thanks.
made a very good attempt. Thank you.
All right, so today was an important day for the African Tourism Board and a webinar discussion that was held a little bit earlier in the day. Let's start there. What was on the agenda for the discussion, and then tell us some of the things that came out.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Well, yesterday was a very special day. It's the celebration. We had a celebration of the International Day of the African Child virtually, and we had participation from over 50 countries, from all over the place. Youth mentors, youth investors in youth, youth stakeholders in youth tourism, and the likes of them. So it provided us, that platform to come together and discuss issues, bring issues to the front burner, issues that affect children, that affect youths. The theme for today's event was targeting children and youths in Africa's tourism development. And we had our speakers, they highlighted these issues, and we had contributions from the audience. So it was a great time and a great opportunity for us to discuss these issues. And from all that we talked about, definitely we will we'll create a communique and escalate this to the relevant authorities. So it's not just a talk shop. It's not just a traditional event that, oh, because this happens annually, yes, let's have it as a matter of regimen. It's something we hold very dear, and definitely there will be action after this.
All right,
Thank you.
so what were some of the most important things that came out for you in the discussion?
Well, very, very salient points about the challenges that face our youths, in today's world, in today's, present day tourism industry in Africa. From access to funding, because of course we all know that our youths are talented and they've got ideas, they've got initiatives, but when it comes to bringing the initiatives to fruition, you find that they face limitations because of lack of funding. So we talked about access to funding, support from the government and also from the private sector. We also talked about even the younger ones, including tourism in their curriculum, and designing know your country programs, and having the young ones, designing family packages, that of course have make provision for children of that particular age category, and things that appeal to them, that educate their minds, because you find that they're in the formative years, and if they are exposed early enough to the tourism assets of a continent and of a respective country, you find that they grow up and become ambassadors automatically. So these are very, very important issues that we highlighted. We also talked about designing institutional framework. We have to be deliberate about this. We can't just leave it to chance. So we have to, when we're designing our policies and plans for tourism development, making those 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years plan, we need to think about our children. And you find that the future of travel lies with our children. When we talk about the AU's Agenda 2063, you find that the 5-year-old or the 10-year-old now, by 2030, 2040, 2050, they become adults, and you find that whatever is invested in them right now, as the years go by, is what they will produce. So we need to be more deliberate. We need to take this more seriously. And so
Right.
this day, the 16th of June, provides that for us to focus on this very pertinent issue.
Right.
So
So,
yes, it was a great outing today. Um, we had our speakers also, talking about, employment, the issue of
right.
unemployment. Tourism is known as an economic catalyst, all over the world. We find that tourism provides jobs, it generates revenue, it provides 1 in 10 jobs, every 10 jobs, and about 10% of the world GDP, 10 to 11%. Even in some countries, you find that tourism provides up to 20 to
All right.
30% of their GDP.
Yeah, and
So
we
we
have.
talked about the issue of
Yeah,
jobs.
I'm just mindful of time a little bit. And one of the things that I really do want to get to is um, when the International Day of the African Child was first instituted, education really was at the core of it. And you've talked about the curriculum. Talk to us a little bit about education and the African child, because this is really what's important to you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, education and the African child, it starts from, like I said earlier,
Mm,
well, the time we designed their curriculum, and what they'll be learning. We have to know that it is what we include in those modules that that they are
yeah,
exposed to. So we have to be deliberately, include the history, the culture, and the assets of the respective country, or at the continental level, so that by the time um, they learn the culture,
yeah.
you know, um, when they become adults, I mean, it won't,
It'll be second
it would be
nature to
hard
them.
to, exactly,
Yeah. All
exactly,
right. So
so
tourism is the thing that you're pushing the most as a tourism ambassador. And I'm just wondering, we've got a vast continent, 54 countries, 55, but not all of us can afford to travel. So how do we still inculcate tourism when funds are not something that we have available to us?
yeah, that is a very important thing that,
Mm,
also was discussed today, the issue of, travel facilitation. And you find that when it comes to travel, you have to deal with the issue of cost of travel, high cost of travel. Well, you see, tourism is no longer a thing of luxury. It has become a need. It has become a right. Um, so when we approach travel, we also, I mean, it's like any other basic need,
mm,
any other basic need. So every family should plan for travel. That's what I would say. And also, of course, in the industry, we need to also look at all the factors that make travel expensive. From the operational overheads of the aviation industry and all that. We need to examine these issues and see how we can review them and make travel more accessible.
all right. And I suppose with technology, we can do quite a bit virtually now to educate
Precisely.
ourselves of what's happening next door, what's happening in countries around us and across the continent. Because I guess the more we know about each other, the more we can do as a collective.
Precisely. Precisely.
All right. So what's the next chapter? You've had this webinar, you've celebrated today. What are your ambitions, particularly as the ambassador for the African Tourism Board Nigeria?
Basically, the African Tourism Board, it gives that opportunity to focalize issues, about Africa's tourism, starting from, talking about and marketing the products,
Okay.
and also, being in a position to promote and celebrate what we have and what we're proud of as Africans. So, next steps or next line of action would be to do more about that. Would be to also focalize on issues. There are so many areas that we need to examine to make tourism more attractive, make tourism the mainstay of our economy. It is already the mainstay of our economy. We
Right.
need to do more because tourism actually can offer us more. Tourism can offer us more. It's a catalyst for development. So we need to see how we can tap more into the industry to gain more, for ourselves, for our communities, and for our countries, and for the continent at large.
And that's where we'll leave it. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. And we wish you the best of luck in spreading this message of education and also getting our kids into this tourism journey. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Okay, so that was Abigail Olagbaye speaking to us from Nigeria about the importance of education and tourism.